alarm rings, and for a brief moment, your entire future narrows to a single choice. You can stay curled under the warmth of the blankets, or you can rise before the world stirs. In this session, you will learn what the 5:00 a.m. habit really is, why the early hours matter, and how to build a system that turns early rising into discipline, clarity, focus, and control over your time. You will learn how to stop the snooze cycle, how to activate your mind and body in the first minutes after waking, how to structure a morning that builds momentum, and how to protect deep work from distractions. You will also learn how to set goals at 5:00 a.m., how to make the habit automatic with routines that do not depend on motivation, how to handle weekend mornings without losing the rhythm, and how real success stories point to the same underlying pattern. Small actions compounded over time change a life. Every successful person you look up to, whether it is an entrepreneur, an athlete, or someone you admire in your field, seems to share one common skill. They have mastered their mornings. The early hours of the day are where the foundation for success is built. The power of waking up at 5:00 a.m. is not some mystical time stamp on a clock. It is access to a quiet window where distractions are minimal, the mind is clear, and you can work on yourself with intention. The 5:00 a.m. habit is not just about waking up early. It is about setting the tone for the entire day. It is about creating a space that belongs to you alone, where you can focus on your growth and take steps toward your goals and dreams. In that space, you can build clarity, you can build focus, you can build control over how you spend your time. You can prioritize what matters most and take consistent action day by day until your future self looks back and feels grateful that you made the commitment when it was still hard. If you have ever wondered how some people get so much done, the answer is not always talent and it is not always luck. Often it is the way they start. What you do in the first few hours after waking sets the tone for the rest of your day. This is not about perfection. This is about taking the first step and sticking with it. In the spirit of Create Your Ironmind, you are not chasing a dramatic transformation overnight. You are building something steady, deliberate, and repeatable. Chapter 1: Why Wake Up at 5:00 a.m. Waking up at 5:00 a.m. is not just about getting up early. It is about claiming control over time, decisions, and ultimately your direction. Mornings carry a power that few people recognize because most people sleep through it. At 5:00 a.m., the world is quiet, distractions are absent. There are no emails demanding responses, no social media pulling at your attention, and no urgent calls disrupting focus. It is a rare and valuable window, time that belongs entirely to the one who chooses to wake up. People who seize that window operate differently. They do not start their day feeling behind. They begin with intention, already ahead while the rest of the world is still asleep. Many people struggle with time and spend the day chasing tasks, always feeling like there is not enough of it. The truth is that time is not always the issue. Priorities are. Those who wake at 5:00 a.m. do not magically receive more hours than everyone else. They simply make better use of the hours that already exist. Mornings create space for what truly matters. That might be fitness, learning, strategic thinking, or deep work. Leaders, athletes, and thinkers often share this habit because they understand something simple. The morning hours are where breakthroughs happen. Discipline is the foundation of success, and few things build discipline like rising early. When waking up at 5:00 a.m. becomes non-negotiable, it creates a ripple effect across every area of life. The ability to override the impulse to sleep strengthens mental toughness. Each morning becomes a small but significant battle that you can win. You reinforce the belief that self-control is possible. Over time, this discipline extends beyond waking up. It shapes how you make decisions, how you face challenges, and how you maintain consistency in pursuit of goals. There is also a practical cognitive reason the early hours matter. The human brain often operates with a unique clarity early in the day, and that clarity fades as the day progresses. The first thoughts of the morning set direction for what follows. If you start in a rush, barely getting ready in time, you carry that frantic energy into your work. If you begin in calm, purposeful silence, you set a different tone, reflection, movement, and strategic planning instead of chaos. Energy is another factor that surprises people. It may seem like waking up earlier would lead to exhaustion, but when sleep is structured properly, the body adapts. Waking at 5:00 a.m. can lead to sustained energy throughout the day. The sluggishness that often lingers after sleeping late can disappear. Instead of rushing and feeling behind schedule, you move with steady, controlled momentum because you have taken charge of your time. Productivity is not about working longer hours. It is about working with better focus. People who wake early can accomplish more by 9:00 a.m. than many people do in an entire day because distractions are minimal. Willpower is often stronger early and concentration can be sharper. That is why accomplished individuals tend to guard their morning routines fiercely. They know the first few hours shape everything that comes after. Some people insist they are night owls, but often the reality is less biological and more behavioral. It is not always that they function better at night. It is that their habits condition them to do so. Late nights filled with screens, distractions, and artificial light disrupt the body's natural rhythm. In contrast, aligning with a morning cycle can bring deeper sleep, better health, and sharper thinking. It is not about forcing an unnatural schedule. It is about resetting to what the body was designed for. The transition does not need to be drastic. It can be a process of small shifts, going to bed earlier, cutting out nighttime distractions, and giving your body time to adjust so the change becomes sustainable. A clear reason for waking early matters. If the morning has a purpose like exercise, reading, writing, or planning, it becomes easier to rise. The mind stops associating early mornings with sacrifice and starts associating them with opportunity, with a quiet chance to build something greater. What happens at 5:00 a.m. affects the entire day. A rushed morning can lead to scattered thoughts, poor decisions, and a lack of direction. A structured morning builds confidence, resilience, and a sense of progress before the world even wakes up. There is a difference between reacting to the day and leading it. People who lead do not leave success to chance. They design it one morning at a time. The most significant changes in life often come from small decisions repeated consistently. Waking up at 5:00 a.m. seems simple, but it is a declaration of intent. It is a commitment to discipline, growth, and the pursuit of a better self. It is proof that success is not only about grand gestures, it is also about consistency in moments that look insignificant when you are half asleep. At 5:00 a.m., there is no pressure and no noise. There is only a quiet opportunity to become better than the day before. The choice stays the same: stay asleep and let life dictate the pace, or rise with purpose and take control. One decision made every morning can redefine the future. On Chapter 2, Breaking the Snooze Cycle. The warmth of the bed feels persuasive. The comfort of another few minutes feels harmless. A voice inside whispers that waking up early can wait until tomorrow. Your hand reaches for the snooze button almost automatically, not out of choice but out of habit. It seems small. It feels like 5 more minutes and then another. Before long, extra minutes turn into another hour, and the morning that was supposed to start with energy begins with regret. Hitting snooze is not just delaying the day, it is delaying progress. Over time, it becomes a pattern of postponing the things that matter. It does not stay confined to the morning. it spills into everything: the gym session that gets skipped, the session of reading that never happens, the business idea that remains only an idea. Success is built on the ability to make decisions aligned with long-term goals rather than short-term comfort. The first decision of the day, getting out of bed when the alarm rings, sets the tone for everything that follows. The mind looks for the easy way out, and early in the morning, when sleep still lingers, it becomes an expert negotiator. It offers convincing arguments. It is too cold, it is too early, sleep is important. 5 more minutes will not hurt. These thoughts are not facts, they are impulses. The problem is rarely waking up. The problem is the decision made in that groggy moment. In reality, the battle is often won before the alarm ever rings. Preparation is the key to breaking the cycle. Sleep inertia, the heavy, sluggish feeling right after waking, tricks people into thinking they need more rest. But those extra snooze minutes provide no real benefit. Fragmented sleep after hitting snooze can make waking harder because the brain starts another sleep cycle and gets interrupted again, leading to more grogginess, not less. The simplest path to feeling awake is to commit to getting up immediately without hesitation. Changing this habit starts the night before. Most people do not struggle with waking up early as much as they struggle with going to bed at a time that allows them to wake up refreshed. Sleep quality matters more than sleep quantity. Late night scrolling, watching one more episode, or lying awake thinking about the day contributes to exhaustion in the morning. A bedtime that guarantees enough rest makes waking up at the first alarm far easier. Small environmental changes matter too. If the alarm is within reach, the temptation to snooze is stronger. Moving it across the room forces movement. The simple act of standing up changes everything. Once your feet hit the floor, momentum takes over. A glass of water, a splash of cold water on your face, exposure to light, these small actions signal to your body that it is time to start. A powerful shift is giving yourself an immediate reason to wake up. If the first moments of the morning have purpose, getting out of bed starts to feel like an opportunity instead of an obligation. That purpose might be an early workout, journaling, reading, writing, planning, or working on a passion project. A defined reason eliminates the temptation to delay. If waking up feels like an empty task, the bed will always seem like the better option. Accountability can strengthen the habit. Telling someone about your commitment adds responsibility. Meeting a workout partner, joining a morning challenge, or using an app that tracks wake-up times creates an external push to follow through. Humans often keep promises to others more reliably than promises to themselves, and you can use that reality to your advantage while the habit is still forming. The first few days of resisting snooze will likely be the hardest. The body will fight it, the mind will resist, old patterns will try to return, but habits are repeated actions, and with enough consistency, the new pattern becomes automatic. The key is to stop negotiating in the moment of weakness. The alarm goes off and action is immediate. No thinking, no excuses, just movement. The discipline gained from this one habit extends far beyond the morning. It builds mental toughness, sharpens decision-making, and strengthens self-control. The ability to override comfort translates into work, fitness, relationships, and personal growth. Every time you choose to get up rather than snooze, you reinforce the belief that control is possible. The morning is the foundation of the day, and when it starts with discipline, everything else follows. There is a difference between rising with purpose and starting the day in delay. One path moves forward, the other stays stuck. Breaking the snooze cycle is not only about waking earlier, it is about taking control of life one morning at a time. Chapter 3: Mind and Body Activation. The moment you rise from sleep, the next few minutes determine your energy, focus, and momentum for the rest of the day. Many people wake up groggy, mind sluggish, body stiff, and they stumble into routine wondering why they feel exhausted even after a full night's sleep. The truth is that how you activate mind and body matters as much as the number of hours you slept. Sleep is a reset. During the night, the body repairs itself, processes emotions, and stores memories. But the transition from deep rest to wakefulness is not always smooth. That heavy feeling in the morning is not always a sign you need more sleep. It is often the body adjusting. The sooner you get moving, the faster you adapt. Instead of rolling over and scrolling through a phone, the first action of the morning should be movement. Stretching, standing up, taking a deep breath, each of these signals to the brain that it is time to switch on. The body and mind are deeply connected. If the body remains still and passive, the brain stays foggy. If the body moves with purpose, the mind follows. Hydration is an essential piece many people overlook. After several hours without water, you wake up mildly dehydrated, and that alone can create fatigue and sluggish thinking. A glass of water in the first few minutes rehydrates the system, wakes digestion, and jump-starts circulation. Coffee may be a habit, but water is a necessity. The body needs it first. Light exposure also matters. Your circadian rhythm responds to light and darkness. Waking in a dim room with curtains closed can make it harder to feel alert. Stepping outside, opening a window, or turning on bright lights tells the brain the day has begun. Morning sunlight in particular helps regulate hormones that affect mood, focus, and energy throughout the day. Breathing plays a huge role, even though most people do not think about it. Intentional breathing changes the body's state. Deep, controlled breaths increase oxygen flow, clear mental fog, and activate the nervous system. Slow inhales through the nose, a brief hold, and a slow release through the mouth send a clear signal: wake up, be present, be ready. Shallow breathing keeps the body low energy. Deep breathing does the opposite. It fuels the system with air and focus. The body also craves movement first thing in the morning. Stiffness from sleep needs to be worked out. Stretching, yoga, or light exercise can make you feel awake faster than almost anything else. This does not mean an intense workout at dawn is required. Simple stretches, a short walk, or a few minutes of bodyweight work can activate circulation, loosen tight muscles, and prepare the body for the demands of the day. The energy created in those moments can last for hours. Activating the mind matters just as much as activating the body. Many people start in a reactive state, letting emails, notifications, and social media dictate their thoughts. A stronger approach is to use the first moments to check in with your own thoughts. Write down ideas, reflect on goals, sit in silence. Give the mind space to set its own course before outside noise begins. The brain is often most clear in the morning, which is why it can be the best time to focus on what truly matters. Mindset shifts happen easiest early. The thoughts that dominate the first part of the day tend to shape everything that follows. If the morning is filled with stress, rush, and frustration, that energy carries forward. If it starts with intention, clarity, and purpose, everything else aligns. The way the morning begins is a choice. It is not about waking up and hoping to feel good. It is about taking action to put the mind and body in the best state from the first moment. Many successful people treat the morning as their most valuable time because they understand its impact. They do not leave energy levels to chance. They prime their bodies and minds through simple habits: hydration, movement, breathing, light exposure, and a moment of mental clarity. None of these take much time, but the effect is meaningful. It is not about building a long, complicated routine. It is about making small, deliberate choices that create momentum. The difference between a sluggish day and a powerful day often starts with the first few actions after waking. The body and mind are waiting for direction. Give them the right signals and the entire day changes. Chapter 4: Winning the Morning. The way the morning begins determines the course of the entire day. Some people wake up and drift, reacting to whatever comes their way. Others take control from the first moment and set the pace with purpose and direction. Success is not only about working harder, it is also about structuring time in a way that maximizes focus, energy, and clarity. The morning is the foundation, and people who use it wisely set themselves apart in every area of life. Most people rush through their mornings, scrambling, barely thinking about what they are doing. They check their phones before they even get out of bed, letting emails and notifications dictate their first thoughts. By the time they start their day, their mind is already cluttered and their mood shaped by outside forces. This reactive approach creates stress before anything meaningful has even begun. The alternative is a structured morning designed with intention to build momentum and control. A strong morning starts with knowing exactly what needs to be done and eliminating unnecessary friction. Decisions made early should be simple. The more choices the brain processes, the more energy it drains. This is why many disciplined people streamline their mornings. They prepare clothes the night before. They plan tasks in advance. They follow a routine that removes guesswork. When the morning becomes automatic, energy is reserved for the things that truly matter. What happens first sets the mental tone. Some people wake up and immediately expose themselves to stress by checking the news, scrolling social media, or thinking about everything that could go wrong. Others begin differently. They start with something that builds them, reading, writing, meditation, or sitting in silence organizing thoughts. This is not about avoiding reality. It is about choosing what enters your mind first. The brain is receptive early, and what it absorbs shapes your state for the rest of the day. Time in the morning is an investment. Some people waste it by moving slowly, hitting snooze, or getting lost in distractions. Others use it to gain an edge, to work on goals while the world is quiet. The key is using the morning for something meaningful, learning, strategizing, exercising, or making progress on a personal project. The more purpose built into the early hours, the more productive the day becomes. Momentum is created by action, not only by thought. People often wait to feel motivated before they start, but motivation tends to come after movement, not before. The first task of the day should require effort and provide an immediate sense of accomplishment. That might be a workout, writing down goals, reviewing priorities, or another action that signals progress. A small victory in the morning builds confidence, and confidence fuels what follows. Energy levels are not only about how much sleep you had, they are also about how you treat your body after waking. A sluggish start leads to sluggish thinking. The body needs movement, water, and the right nutrients to function at its best. Grabbing whatever is convenient keeps you drifting. Making a conscious choice to fuel your body properly changes the way the morning feels. A strong morning is not just about what you do, it is also about how you prepare your body to perform. The morning is also the best time to focus deeply without distractions. Later in the day, interruptions are inevitable. Meetings, calls, demands from others, unexpected situations pulling attention in every direction. But the early hours belong to the individual. This is why some of the greatest thinkers, creators, and leaders protect their mornings fiercely. They use that time for important work because the quality of focus in the morning can be unmatched. The way the morning unfolds impacts confidence and decision-making. Someone who starts the day in control moves through the rest of it differently. They do not feel behind or overwhelmed because they have already established momentum. Their actions are deliberate, their energy is steady. They are not reacting to the day, they are leading it. A well-structured morning does not require complicated rituals or extreme discipline. It requires consistency. The goal is not to copy someone else's routine. It is to build one that aligns with your priorities. The small actions taken in the first few hours create a ripple effect. Those who win the morning win the day, and those who win the day shape the direction of their lives. In Chapter 5, Deep Work versus Distraction. The modern world is filled with distractions. From the moment you wake up, notifications, messages, and endless streams of information compete for your attention. It is easy to live in reaction, checking emails, scrolling social media, responding to every small request. This scattered focus makes meaningful work difficult. Without control over attention, the day slips away in a blur of small, unimportant tasks, leaving exhaustion and little progress. People who achieve at a high level operate differently. They understand their best work happens in uninterrupted blocks of deep focus. Instead of dividing attention across multiple things at once, they set aside time where nothing else exists except the task at hand. This is the difference between being busy and being productive. People often confuse movement with progress, believing constant activity means accomplishment. In reality, the ability to work deeply on one thing without distraction is what separates high achievers from everyone else. Early morning is often the best time for deep work. The mind can be sharp before the chaos of the day begins. There are fewer urgent emails, fewer meetings, fewer interruptions demanding immediate attention. This quiet window is where creative and important work can happen. Writers produce pages, entrepreneurs map strategies, problem solvers find breakthroughs. But using this time effectively requires a shift in mindset. It means breaking the habit of constant availability and embracing the idea that focus can be more valuable than responsiveness. One reason people struggle with deep work is that they have trained their brains to seek constant stimulation. Checking notifications, refreshing inboxes, switching tasks, each of these can create a cycle where the mind becomes addicted to small dopamine hits. The cost is concentration. Every time attention is pulled away, it takes time to refocus. Even a quick glance at a phone can break the flow and make it harder to return to deep work. The solution is simple, though not always easy. Protect focus by eliminating unnecessary distractions. Environment matters. The brain associates spaces with behaviors. A cluttered workspace filled with distractions makes it harder to concentrate. A clean, dedicated area signals it is time to focus. Small changes can help, putting the phone in another room, using noise-canceling headphones, working in a space that minimizes interruptions. The goal is to remove anything that competes for attention so mental energy is directed toward work that truly matters. Time blocking is another powerful strategy. Instead of working in a scattered way throughout the day, set aside specific periods dedicated to deep work without interruption. Successful people schedule blocks where they work on one thing with complete focus. These sessions do not have to be long. Even an hour of uninterrupted work can produce more results than an entire day of multitasking. The key is consistency. Training the mind to focus deeply for set periods strengthens concentration and makes it easier to enter a flow state where work feels almost effortless. Many people resist this level of focus because they fear falling behind on communication. Constantly checking messages and responding immediately creates the illusion of productivity but prevents real progress. Most things can wait. The world does not fall apart if an email is answered an hour later or a call is returned at a more convenient time. Prioritizing deep work does not mean ignoring responsibilities. It means structuring the day to allow for both focused effort and necessary communication. Deep work also requires managing mental energy. Not all hours are equal. Some periods are naturally more productive than others. Paying attention to energy levels and structuring work accordingly leads to better results. High-focus tasks should be scheduled when the mind is at its best. Less demanding activities can be done when energy is lower. Instead of forcing productivity at all hours, understanding personal rhythms allows smarter work rather than harder work. The long-term benefits go beyond productivity. The ability to focus deeply strengthens discipline, improves problem solving, and brings satisfaction because time is spent on something meaningful rather than lost in distraction. Over time, this practice creates mastery that sets people apart. The difference between extraordinary results and staying stuck often comes down to how time is used. People who create, innovate, and build meaningful things are people who control focus instead of letting the world control it. Waking up early provides an opportunity to work without distractions, but making the most of that time requires discipline. It is not enough to be awake. What matters is how that time is spent. Those who master deep work do not just get more done, they produce work that truly matters. Chapter 6, Goal Setting at 5:00 a.m. At this point in the session, the question is not whether waking up early can help you. The question is what you do with the quiet once you have it. Goal setting at 5:00 a.m. matters because it prevents the most common drift in a person's life. Starting the day with no clear purpose, wandering from one task to the next, and spending energy on things that do not move anything forward. When there is no direction, time gets wasted, and the day becomes a series of reactions instead of a series of choices. The fix is simple in concept and disciplined in practice. You set clear, intentional goals right from the moment the day begins. The early morning mind is fresh. It is not yet clogged with the noise of messages, requests, news, and the subtle pressure of other people's expectations. In those first hours, clarity is easier to access, and clarity is what turns effort into progress. This is not about making a giant list to prove you are productive. It is about defining what matters before the day tries to define it for you. A practical way to do this is to write down your goals and priorities, not in vague language, but in a way that forces you to be specific. You choose what you want to accomplish, you decide why it matters, and you identify the next action that moves you one step closer. When you do that in the morning, you build a framework that supports the rest of the day. There is a deeper benefit here that people often miss. When you set goals early, you also set your identity early. You are telling yourself quietly and without negotiation that you are the kind of person who leads your day instead of being led by it. You stop waking up and immediately handing your attention to the world. You keep your attention long enough to aim it. Goal setting in the morning also protects you from a common trap, confusing activity with progress. Many people stay busy all day and still feel like they did nothing meaningful. They complete small tasks, answer messages, and handle whatever shows up, yet the important things remain untouched. When you begin at 5:00 a.m. by deciding what matters most, you reduce the chance that the day will dissolve into unimportant work. This practice can be as straightforward as choosing the few outcomes that truly matter and building your day around them. You look at your long-term direction and then translate it into what can be done today. You can use the early morning to review where you are, where you want to be, and what the next step looks like in real life. You can plan your day while your mind is calm enough to think clearly. Over time, goal setting becomes less like a struggle and more like a habit. The morning becomes a daily checkpoint where you refine your focus, reinforce your commitment, and take one small action at a time. That consistency compounds not just within a single day but across weeks, months, and years. Goal setting is clarity, purpose, and action working together. Small steps, repeated consistently, build momentum strong enough to accomplish bigger things. Success is not perfection. Success is progress, and progress is easier when your goals are set with intention and your mind is clear about what needs to be done. Chapter 7, How to Make It Automatic. One of the hardest parts of committing to the 5:00 a.m. habit is making it automatic. Deciding is not enough. Motivation is not enough. Waking up early for a few days does not mean you have built a habit. Most people start strong, driven by the excitement of a fresh change. Then the excitement fades. The bed feels extra comfortable. The snooze button starts to sound reasonable. The temptation to roll over for a few more minutes becomes loud. That resistance does not mean something is wrong. It means your brain is doing what it always does when you challenge an old pattern. The brain resists change, even when the change is good for you. If you want the 5:00 a.m. habit to become effortless, you do not rely on willpower alone. You build a system that supports your decision. You create a series of small, consistent actions that lead up to the moment your alarm goes off. You reduce friction, you remove choices, you make the correct action easier than the comfortable action. It starts the night before. When you set up your environment before you go to sleep, the morning becomes easier. If you plan to exercise, you lay out your workout clothes in advance. You set your alarm across the room so you are forced to get up to turn it off. Those small adjustments matter because they interrupt the lazy routine that keeps you stuck. When everything is ready, there is less effort required to begin. Consistency is the second pillar. The more consistently you wake up at 5:00 a.m., the easier it becomes. The body thrives on routine. When you wake at the same time every day, your internal clock adjusts. Over time, you begin waking naturally with less dependence on an alarm. It takes time, but once it clicks, it is powerful. One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting immediate results. They want to feel the benefits right away. In reality, building any new habit is a slow alignment between intention and behavior. You show up day after day, including days when you do not feel like it. Then what used to be a struggle becomes second nature. There is another important piece. You make the morning something you look forward to instead of something you dread. One strategy is to attach early rising to an activity you genuinely value. Reading, journaling, exercising, or working on something meaningful can turn waking up into an opportunity rather than an obligation. When you wake knowing there is something worthwhile waiting for you, the decision to get out of bed becomes easier. This is where people often misunderstand motivation. Motivation can help at the start, but it is unreliable. It comes and goes. If your plan depends on feeling motivated, your plan will fail on the first hard morning. To make the 5:00 a.m. habit automatic, you build a routine that does not depend on mood. You follow it because it is your rhythm, not because you feel inspired. Tracking helps reinforce that rhythm. When you can see your progress, it strengthens your commitment. You can mark days on a calendar, use an app, or write it down in a journal. Watching a streak grow creates a quiet sense of accomplishment. It becomes evidence that the habit is taking root and that consistency is paying off. On days when you feel tempted to break the routine, that record can give you the extra push to stay steady. Accountability can also make a major difference. When you tell someone about your commitment, you create an external source of pressure in the best sense of the word. It could be a friend, a family member, or a group. It could be meeting a workout partner, joining a morning challenge, or using something that tracks wake-up times. When other people are cheering for your success, quitting becomes harder. You might not want to let them down, and that can keep you moving on the mornings when you would otherwise stop. Setbacks will happen. There will be days you oversleep or do not feel like waking up early. That is normal. The key is not to be harsh with yourself. Do not focus on the slip. Focus on returning to the routine. The people who succeed are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who do not let failure derail them. They acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward. Progress is not made through perfection. Progress is made through persistence. Making the 5:00 a.m. habit automatic does not happen overnight. It requires commitment, consistency, and a willingness to sit inside the discomfort of change. As time passes, early mornings stop feeling like a chore. They become a natural part of your day. If you build the habit with small, simple actions and keep showing up, waking early becomes something you do without constant negotiation. It stops requiring willpower. It becomes your standard. Chapter 8: Weekend Mornings. Weekends test habits because weekends test discipline. During the week, structure is often forced on you by schedules, obligations, and routine. On weekends, the structure loosens. That is where many people lose momentum. The danger is subtle because it rarely feels like a mistake in the moment. It just feels like a deserved break, but habits do not care what day it is. They either stay alive through repetition or they fade through neglect. The weekend mindset can be tricky. It is a time to relax, unwind, and recharge. It can also become the excuse that breaks the rhythm you worked hard to build. The challenge is not the weekday routine. The challenge is maintaining the same level of discipline on Saturday and Sunday that you maintain from Monday to Friday, even when nobody is forcing a schedule on you. Weekends can feel like a free pass. Waking up early might seem counterproductive if you see the weekend as a break from responsibility and stress. But consistency matters on weekends precisely because your body and mind thrive on stability. If your weekend becomes a free-for-all where you wake up whenever you want and abandon your goals, it creates a ripple effect. It can ruin the routine you fought to establish, and it can quietly teach your brain that discipline is optional when comfort is available. The solution is not to turn weekends into work days. The solution is to shift your mindset. Waking up early on the weekend does not mean you have to grind all day or miss out on rest. It means your morning still sets you up for success even if you move slower afterward. You protect the early wake-up time as something important, not because you are trying to suffer, but because you are trying to stay aligned with the person you are becoming. Flexibility is allowed as long as the habit remains alive. If your weekday goal is 5:00 a.m., you can adjust slightly on weekends. You might wake up at 6:00 or 6:30. That still honors the discipline while giving your body extra rest after a week of effort. The key is that you do not abandon the habit entirely. Small changes can still be victories. The goal is to avoid the extreme swing from structure to chaos, because that swing is what makes Monday feel like a restart. It also helps to plan your weekend mornings so that your early wake-up does not feel wasted. A flexible but structured routine can include personal growth, exercise, or reflection, but it can also include enjoyment. You worked hard all week. The weekend is a time to reap some of the rewards, but not to slip into overindulgence. You do not have to spend the whole day running errands or grinding through an endless list, but waking up early gives you space to make mindful choices instead of default choices. One approach is to decide what a good weekend morning looks like before the weekend arrives. You can choose one anchor habit that stays the same no matter what, like 10 minutes of stretching, a short walk, a simple workout, a quiet journal entry, or reading a few pages. You can also choose one thing that feels restorative, like cooking a calm breakfast, sitting with coffee without a screen, or stepping outside for fresh air and sunlight. When you plan it this way, the weekend morning becomes something you use intentionally, not something you stumble through. There is a practical reason for weekend consistency. If you sleep in on Saturday and Sunday, Monday becomes harder. Your body has been trained to expect a certain wake-up time. When you skip it for a couple of days, it can feel like you are starting over. Maintaining your habit through the weekend creates a seamless transition into the next week. You are not resetting your body clock. You are keeping it steady, and that steadiness strengthens both your physical routine and your mental resilience. There is also a psychological element. When you wake up early on weekends, you send a message to yourself that you are committed to growth no matter what day it is. That discipline builds confidence. It proves you can follow through even when nobody is watching and no one is holding you accountable. That kind of mental toughness does not stay inside your morning routine. It spreads into other areas of life because you learn that your standards do not depend on external pressure. Weekends can also be a deeper self-care opportunity. When you are not working, the quiet early hours can be used to recharge your spirit. You might meditate, practice gratitude, or spend time on personal projects that bring you joy. You fill your cup so you are not only giving to others during the week, but also caring for yourself in ways that matter. In a strange way, waking up earlier can make the weekend feel longer, because you experience more of it with awareness instead of sleeping through the first part and rushing through the rest. Waking up early on the weekend is not about pushing harder. It is about balancing work and rest in a way that improves well-being. Consistency is not rigid scheduling. Consistency is a rhythm that works for you. With a little flexibility, you keep the 5:00 a.m. habit alive while still leaving room to unwind. Once you learn that balance, it can genuinely enhance your life because you stop choosing between discipline and rest. You learn how to keep both. In Chapter 9, Success Stories. Success stories matter because they light the path for people who are still figuring out how to start or how to keep going. When you hear about someone who achieved something meaningful, it can create a spark. It can remind you that transformation is possible, but the real value is not only in the end result. The real value is in the process, in the quiet parts that never make headlines, and in the repeatable habits that most people overlook because they seem too ordinary to matter. Success stories are proof that small actions repeated over time create big change. The daily commitment to something like waking up at 5:00 a.m. is not about instant gratification or dramatic leaps. It is about doing the work day after day. If you look at how successful people live, you notice a shared pattern. They do not give up on their habits. They may adjust their strategies. They may change their goals. But the foundation stays steady. They show up consistently even when motivation fades. People talk about success like it happens overnight, but that is rarely true. Most success is the result of countless mornings of showing up when it is not easy, when you are tired, and when part of you wants comfort instead of progress. The people who seem to have it all together did not get there by skipping the basics. They did not reach their goals by avoiding the daily grind. They reached them by sticking with their routines, even on hard days. And many of those hard days look the same from the outside. Nobody applauds the early alarm. Nobody celebrates the decision to get up, drink water, and start a workout. Nobody gives you credit for choosing to focus instead of scroll. But those are the decisions that shape a life. There is something else success stories teach you if you listen carefully. They teach you that the habit is not only a tool for productivity, it is a tool for identity. People who win consistently often see themselves differently. They see discipline as part of who they are, not as something they do when they feel inspired. That identity does not come from one big achievement. It comes from repeated proof. It comes from the steady accumulation of small promises kept. You have likely heard stories of people who start their day early. The point is not the specific hour. The point is momentum. Successful people often talk about their morning routines because those routines shape their days and their days shape their lives. In the morning, before demands pile up, you can decide what matters. You can decide what to protect. You can decide who you want to be today. That is why mornings are so often the hidden foundation behind visible success. Consider Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. His day begins at 3:45 a.m. He gives himself hours of peace and solitude before work begins. That quiet time allows him to focus on health, reading, and emails, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. What makes the story interesting is not the extreme hour, it is the intention. He is not rushing into his day. He is preparing for it by choice every single day. The takeaway is not that you need to wake up at 3:45. The takeaway is that he protects a quiet block of time and uses it deliberately day after day because he understands that leadership is easier when you are not constantly reacting. It is not only high-profile CEOs who benefit from early mornings. Writers, athletes, and creative people across industries describe the power of their morning habits. Oprah Winfrey has spoken openly about how early morning hours are sacred to her. She does not wake up early only to get a head start on work. She wakes up early for personal rituals. She meditates, reads, and works on fitness. For her, those hours are about nurturing mind and body before the demands of the day take over. Her story shows that success is not only about getting things done. It is also about intentionally caring for yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. It is about building a life where you are not always empty by the time the day is halfway over. Then there is Robin Sharma, the author of the 5 a.m. Club. His work and his life story are often framed as a success story about the power of early mornings. He has worked with highly successful people and has seen firsthand how a strong morning routine can improve productivity and well-being. His emphasis is not simply waking early. It is making early hours count, whether through reading, working out, or reflecting, so the morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. The deeper message is that the morning is not only a time slot, it is a training ground. It is where you practice focus. It is where you practice discipline. It is where you practice becoming the version of yourself that your goals require. But success stories are not only about famous names. In fact, the most useful ones are usually quieter. They are the stories of people who changed their health by walking each morning and slowly building strength. They are the stories of people who use the early hours to study, to learn a skill, to start a business one small step at a time, or to rebuild their confidence after a difficult period. They are the stories of people who were not naturally disciplined, who did not feel like early mornings were their thing, and who still chose consistency because they wanted a different life. Most transformations look like this, not dramatic, not perfect, not glamorous, just repeated effort in small doses. Success stories also carry an honest warning. The habit does not remove difficulty. It does not eliminate stress. It does not solve life for you. What it does is give you an advantage. It gives you a quieter mind and a steadier foundation, so when challenges show up, you face them with more control. And when you miss a morning, the habit teaches you something even more important: resilience, the ability to return, the ability to restart without self-punishment. The people who succeed long-term are not the ones who never slip. They are the ones who do not let a slip become a collapse. So what do you take from these examples? You take the reminder that success is not a one-time event. It is built daily. These stories point to the same conclusion: waking up early is not only about getting more done. It is about creating a foundation you can build on for years. It is about the quiet discipline that changes your identity over time. It is about training your mind to choose purpose over comfort. And it is about proving to yourself, again and again, that your future can be shaped by small decisions made consistently, even when nobody else sees them. Chapter 10: Your New Life at 5:00 a.m. The most important part of this session is the part that happens after the initial motivation fades. The first few weeks may feel like a battle. Your body will resist. Your mind will offer excuses. Every ounce of you might want to stay under the covers. That early resistance is normal. It is the price of changing a pattern that has been reinforced for years. It is also the moment where most people quietly quit, not because they cannot do it, but because they expected it to feel easier sooner. If you want this to last, you stop measuring progress by comfort and start measuring progress by consistency. If you persist, something shifts, the discomfort loses its edge. The routine becomes familiar. You start to wake up and move without turning the moment into a debate. You begin to feel the quiet advantage of owning the first part of your day. It is not loud, it is not dramatic. It is a calm confidence that grows because you are no longer at the mercy of the morning. You are shaping it. But it is important to be honest about what creates the real transformation. The magic does not happen in the early morning hours alone. What matters is what you do with that time. Waking up at 5:00 a.m. is not a trophy. It is a tool. It gives you space. It gives you clarity. It gives you a window where distractions are minimal and your mind is more willing to cooperate. Then you decide how to use it. The hour itself does not change your life. The choices you make inside that hour do. You might use that time to work on your goals, to train, to learn, to reflect, to plan, to journal, to read, to build something that matters. You might use it to practice discipline in the simplest form, doing what you said you would do. That is where the deeper reward lives. The real reward is not that you woke up early. The real reward is that you kept your word when nobody was watching. There is also a quiet pride that comes from keeping a promise to yourself. It is not only about checking off another task, it is about becoming the person who follows through. Each early morning is a vote for that identity. Over time, those votes add up. You become reliable to yourself, and when you are reliable to yourself, you trust yourself more. That trust changes how you approach everything else. Now bring the entire session together because the strength of this habit comes from understanding the whole system, not only one part. In the beginning, you learn that the 5:00 a.m. decision is a fork in the road, a small choice that sets your direction for the day. You learn that waking up early matters because it creates quiet space, reduces distractions, and allows you to lead your day instead of reacting to it. You learn that the snooze button is not just a button, it is a pattern. Trains delay and breaking it trains self-control. You learn that mind and body activation is the bridge between sleep and momentum, and that simple actions like movement, hydration, light, and breathing can shift your energy quickly. You learn that winning the morning is not about complexity. It is about intention, reducing friction, and building momentum early. You learn that deep work requires protection because distractions steal your attention in small pieces until nothing meaningful gets done. You learn that goal setting at 5:00 a.m. prevents drift and turns time into progress. You learn that the habit becomes automatic when you design your environment, build consistency, and stop relying on motivation. You learn that weekends are the test of discipline, and that consistency with flexibility protects your rhythm and makes Monday easier. You learned through success stories that results come from small actions repeated over time, and that the most useful transformations are often quiet and unglamorous. Now you turn those lessons into a practical approach you can actually live with. The goal is not to build the perfect morning. The goal is to build a morning you can repeat. Here are tips to make this real and to keep it real. First, choose a clear bedtime anchor. If you want 5:00 a.m. to be sustainable, you protect your sleep like it matters because it does. Set a time you aim to be in bed and treat it as part of the habit, not an optional detail. If you wake early but go to sleep late, you are not building discipline, you are building fatigue. Second, decide your first 10 minutes before you go to sleep. Do not leave the morning to improvisation. Write down a simple sequence and keep it the same. It can be as basic as turning off the alarm, drinking water, opening the curtains, and moving your body for 2 minutes. The less thinking required, the less chance your mind will negotiate you back into bed. Third, build one non-negotiable morning action. Choose one small thing that happens every morning no matter what. It can be a short walk, a few stretches, a page of reading, or writing down your top priority for the day. This is the anchor that keeps the habit alive even when the morning is imperfect. Fourth, protect one block of deep focus. If your mornings are for progress, then at least one part of the morning should be distraction-free. Put the phone away, delay notifications. Give yourself one uninterrupted block where you work on something meaningful. Even 30 minutes done consistently can change your results over time. Fifth, set your goals in a way that leads to action. Goals are not helpful if they stay abstract. Each morning, identify one important outcome and the next concrete step. Then do the first step while the world is quiet. It does not have to be huge, it just has to be real. Sixth, expect friction and plan for it. You will have mornings where you feel tired, where life interrupts, where you oversleep, where the routine falls apart. That is normal. The habit survives when you return quickly. The rule is simple. Do not let one off morning become a full reset. You get back to the rhythm the next day. Seventh, handle weekends with intention. If you want flexibility, build it deliberately. Decide your weekend wake time range like 6:00 to 6:30 and keep one anchor habit. This protects your rhythm, supports recovery, and keeps Monday from feeling like punishment. Eighth, measure progress the right way. The mistake is measuring success by how early you wake up or by how perfect the morning felt. A better measure is consistency and direction. Are you showing up more days than not? Are you using the early hours for what matters? Are you building trust with yourself? Those are the real metrics. Finally, remember the deeper point. This is not a lifestyle trend. It is not about impressing anyone. It is about building a life where your actions match your intentions. It is about keeping small promises until you become someone who naturally keeps bigger ones. This is where Create Your Ironmind becomes more than a phrase. It becomes a practice. The session is not asking you to chase hype or chase perfection. It is asking you to build a rhythm that supports the life you want, one morning at a time and one choice at a time.
Want the written version? Grab the PDF for half a cup of coffee, $2. Link is in the description and the comments.